Hey, everybody, happy Wednesday. That's right. You know what it is. It's Wisdom Wednesday. Hey, folks, happy Wednesday. I pray that everyone is doing well. Wanted to come on tonight, give us our message from the Lord. The title tonight is going to be The Grace. That's it. And our scripture reading is going to come from 2 Corinthians chapter 12. And we're going to read from verse 9, 8. We're going to read from verse 8 and 10. And it says, 3 times I pleaded with the Lord to take it away from me. But he said to me, my grace is sufficient for you. My power is made perfect in weakness. So, of course, we like to add context to things, use some definitions, go back, kind of look over the scripture. So, in this scripture, what is being talked about is Paul is talking about a thorn and requesting from the Lord to remove the thorn and saying, hey, I went to the Lord and asked the Lord to remove this thorn from me. Something that's like a thorn is something that's a bother or something that is troubling. And he's saying, I went to the Lord and asked the Lord 3 times to remove this from me. And the Lord said, my grace is sufficient for you. So in this moment, not knowing what was going on exactly as far as with the context of the thorn, but when there's something, if we put that into today's context, if it's something in the marriage, if it's something with our children, if it's something with our finances or something with the job that is troubling to us, then there's lots of different emotions, lots of different feelings, lots of different challenges that are happening with that. And so for many of us, we go to the Lord and we're pleading and asking and begging the Lord, hey, take this away from me. Maybe it's your parenting, maybe you're being a parent and you're feeling like there's certain areas where you feel like maybe we're failing at that. And so we're going and we're saying, hey, Lord, I need you to help me with this. Whatever the thorn is that we're facing, and we've gone to the Lord, it might have been more than 3 times now, y'all, but whatever it is, the Lord is saying, but my grace is sufficient enough for you. And he's saying, my power, I am made powerful in weakness. So in those moments, whatever it is we're going through, we may feel weak in that moment. We may feel helpless, like there's nothing we can do. But the Lord is saying to you, to us, to me, that his grace is sufficient enough for whatever it is that we're going through. And so I wanted us to take a look. Of course, we got to get some definitions going on here, right? So grace is a gift from God that is undeserved and it cannot be earned. So it's unmerited favor. And so when we look at that in the sense of context, and it's saying it's a gift from God, it cannot be. So it's basically, grace is when you are extending politeness, you're extending something to someone that perhaps maybe it's undeserving. And so that is what God is saying. Hey, I know you're in your situation, but I'm extending my grace. I'm extending some politeness to you. I'm extending this blessing to you. And even though it may feel like it's undeserved, God is saying, no matter what it is, I'm still granting my grace to you. I'm granting you my peace when he's granting his grace to us. And so when we look at the definition of favor says an act of kindness beyond what is due. So the definition of grace says that it's unmerited favor. And then favor is defined as an act of kindness beyond what is due. So the Lord is saying, my grace, my act of kindness to you beyond what is due, even when you're going through your situation, I'm going to grant you some grace. And he's saying, I could do this because of whatever it is that you've done. And he's saying, but I'm going to extend to you kindness in this season. And so when we think about grace, the one thing that the reason why this was so heavy tonight for me, that I felt like the Lord was having me to share, is because a lot of times, we're faced with situations, and even with ourselves, right? So you're being a parent, you're trying to juggle, running a household, you're in a marriage, you're trying to be in the marriage, be a parent. And if you're working, you're trying to work. And sometimes we don't always get it right. And so sometimes grace is not always just needed for other people, but it's needed for us to show to ourselves. So sometimes we need to show ourselves an act of kindness beyond what is due. So, hey, maybe we might have just flipped out and on that moment, but to give ourselves some grace, or maybe we did make a mistake when we were doing something, but to extend ourselves some grace to say, you know what, I did get that wrong, but the next time around, hey, I'm going to try to work at it. I'm going to try to learn from what I did. I'm not going to hold myself in a place of condemnation. And the next time around, I'm going to learn from what I did this time, and I'm going to try to get it right the next time. And then the grace that we extend to other people is just like the grace that God extends to us. So someone else may have done something, and it may not be deserving, but we're going to show like an act of kindness beyond what is due. We're going to give someone unmerited favor to show grace to them in that moment. So maybe someone got it wrong, and in that moment, we're going to show them some grace, the kindness. And so I know that this just seems like, okay, so where are we going here? And where we're going here with this is that it's so much happening in life, and things are, we're finding ourselves in a place where our feelings are being hurt. We're being disappointed. We're being let down. But God is saying, hey, guess what? Whatever that situation is, I can take on that situation, and my grace is going to be enough for you in that situation. And where you are weak, where I, Lashana, am weak, God is saying he is going to be made powerful, because he gets to show me how he gets to be God and how he gets to turn my situation around. And so that's what he's saying for you today. He's saying his grace is sufficient in whatever it is today that you're facing, because he's saying you're feeling weak in this moment. Well, I am the great I am. So let me be what you need me to be. Let me be the healer. Let me be the provider. Let me be the peace. And so God is saying, when you're weak, this is my time to shine. And God is saying that's his time to shine, when he can show us that everything that he promised us is not a lie, y'all. He's like, I can make it happen. So he's saying, hey, certain things, they're there because the Lord wants us to be able to see that, hey, this is what I promised you. Now let me show you what I promised you. Let me deliver on my promise. So I pray that this has helped someone that is going through something, that you and myself, we are reminded that God is saying that he wants to give us, he's extending grace to us. Sufficient means enough. He's saying my grace is enough. It's sufficient. It's enough. And that in your weakness, I'm made powerful. All right, guys, I pray that this has helped someone. This has been our Wisdom Wednesday. Blessings with a red heart, LB.